So I advocate for a comprehensive, culturally responsive literature review that decenters the white literary canon. This type of literature review has two very important components. The first, a commitment to cultivating an understanding of how the Academy has excluded and marginalized groups of people. Doctors Jennifer Esposito and Venus Evans Winters have highlighted a need for this stance, writing, "You do not have to continue recreating the canon given that it has historically privileged white men's scholarship." Referring to this as a resistance to dominant literature, Dr. Chalesa points out literature includes that literature broadly thought of includes language, cultural artifacts, legends, stories, practices, songs, rituals, poems, dances, tattoos, lived experiences, personal stories, and community stories told during weddings, funerals, celebrations, and war. Onwubuzi and Farrells have extensive work in this area also that they term a culturally progressive literature review. The second important area here is you do need to understand how to conduct a traditional literature review. And I refer you to the course in the larger set of courses that is on the traditional literature review so that you're in a position to best defend your research, create connections to current research, and push back against existing research as warranted to identify potential strengths and weaknesses. So maybe you're going to write a research grant and you need to have a traditional literature review. Maybe you're doing a thesis or dissertation, and part of that is to demonstrate that you know how to write a traditional literature review. Typically, we do not consider people to be in a position to crack something open, change it, influence it, if they don't understand how it actually works. Most of us will need to be able to conduct a traditional literature review at some point in our life. The traditional literature review is founded on treating the process as a fact and not a tradition. And so this is my critique of it, having done and taught people how to do traditional literature reviews for years. The traditional literature review privileges peer-reviewed research, which is primarily published in for-profit English language closed access journals. And we understand, of course, that the dominance of English in publication is from colonization. And so this is this idea with culturally responsive research that we're always trying to look at systemic historic situations, racist situations such as this, that we can push back on and change. I would argue that one of the most compelling things that we could do to start to work on research being less racist and to being more open, culturally humble, is to start to imbue aspects of the traditional literature review with culturally responsive research. So you would have both. So as a scholar, part of what we do is to critically question what we're taught. I am not wanting to be thought of in any way here as a rejection of traditional science. In the times we're at, I think it's very important that I say that. But instead, I'm calling for a far-reaching and inclusive embracing of what knowledge means. Additionally, qualitative researchers could cite artistic research representations in their literature reviews. Things like research poetry, for example, or autoethnography, photo collage, truly making this a comprehensive literature review. So, for example, let's say you're researching mental health. You could review the extensive array of qualitative art-based research on mental health and feature pieces that are relevant, along with the traditional peer-reviewed empirical studies that we would expect would be in the literature review. You could also review current happenings that we would consider to be journalistic from the news. And all of these will come together and create this patchwork quilt of fully contextualizing the understandings. You could also look at how mental health has been considered within the communities historically that you're researching, and not just come to it through a traditional white mental health perspective. You could have cultural humility and pull in that research. Interweaving artistic representations into literature reviews demonstrates an overall engagement with the topic and a value of the understanding artistic expressions generate, and draws a broader readership to artistic renderings. And so then I wanted to just remind you in general, all literature reviews, regardless of what kind of researcher you are, should be concise and comprehensive in order to create a compelling context for the research. So up next is a methodology exemplar. I'm going to start with one with Stefan Bahn. Then I look at Blue's epistemology and Black finesse.